To the lecture on fibers for composite. In today's lecture, we will be continuing with the topic flammability and fire resistance of composites. So, we will first see what we have discussed during the last lecture. We have discussed about methods of conferring flame resistance. There are three methods to confer flame resistance. One is the use of inherently flame retardant fibers, and number two is use of some flame retardant additives like phosphorus based chemicals or halogenated based chemicals or some metal oxides like antimony trioxides can be used. And number three is use of external coatings and outer protective surfaces like use of intumescents and or fluorocarbon latex paints. Those are all the coatings. That is the third method to confer the flame resistance. Then we moved on to discuss about inherently flame retardant fibers in detail of all the fibers like glass, carbon, aramid, boron and ceramic fibers. Among all these fibers, the ceramic fiber has the greatest flame resistance. Then we moved on to discuss about matrix materials, thermoplastic and thermoset resins. Thermoplastic resins have very high inherent flame retardant property like poly ether ketone, polyphenylene sulfide. There are various thermoplastic resins are there. All the thermoplastic resins have the high LOI value of say above minimum of 30, so that it has the inherently flame retardant property, so it may not require additional flame resistance. However, though it has a good flame retardant property because of the aromatic structure, still it is not used in the manufacture of rigid composites. So for manufacturing of rigid composites, thermoset resins are preferred. So in the thermoset resins, we started to discuss about thermoset resins with the first discussion on polyester resins. We have seen how the polyester resin, when burned, it undergoes thermal degradation process, and it gives out the flammable volatiles like styrene and other flammable products. And the LY value of polyester is very less, around from 20 to 21 only, which will readily burn. So how we also discussed how to improve the flame retardant property of polyester resin. This is the brief discussion on the previous lecture. So we will continue with the further discussion on the thermoset resins. So first we will move on to the discussion on epoxy resin. Epoxy resin, you know very well, the epoxy means the structure which contains two carbon which is connected with one oxygen. This is the epoxy structure or epoxides. This is manufactured through two routes, that is DGEBA route or TGDDM route. That is the diglycidyl ether of bisphenol A. That kind of route you can use. And if you use a hexamethylene triamine, any kind of an amine, if you used as a curing agent, then you can produce the epoxy resin. And this epoxy resin, uh, it is a more popular resin in the thermoset family. This can be used along with a hardener and also a solvent, so that this epoxy resin will remain, if it is not mixed with the curing agent, then it will remain uncured and stable for a long time. So that is the reason these epoxy resins are mixed with the fibers to manufacture the prepreg, to keep the fibers in a semi-cured condition for a long time, so that it can be used for manufacture as and when it is required. And this epoxy resin has a high glass transition temperature of say from 120 to 220 degree centigrade. And this epoxy resin, when you subject it to burning during the early stages of the thermal degradation of the cured epoxy resin, the reactions are mainly non-chain scission type. We will see what are those non-chain scission type reaction. There are two reactions that occurs when you burn the epoxy resin. One is the non-chain scission type and another is the chain scission type. This non-chain scission type occurs at a lower temperature, but when the temperature increases, then it undergoes chain scission reaction. The most important non-chain scission reactions occurring at these resins are competing dehydration and dehydrogenation reaction associated with secondary alcohol groups in the cured resin structure. Now here the epoxy resin which we are talking about is the cured epoxy resin. That is the resin after it is mixed with the hardener or the curing agent, it forms a cured epoxy resin. So how this reaction take place, that we will see with the help of a reaction. For example, first we will see the non-chain scission reaction. You can see here the non-chain scission reaction. This is a part of the epoxy, this is the cured epoxy resin. This is a part of the cured epoxy resin. You can see here this contains a aromatic benzene ring here, and here some aliphatic groups are there. Here you can see. So when it undergoes burning, then it forms two. When it is burned, it undergoes two different reactions which are non-scission type. Non-scission means where the chain will not get broken. You can see it undergoes a dehydrogenation reaction here. Dehydrogenation means removal of hydrogen. You can see here the hydrogen which is present here, this gets removed, and this is a carbonyl compound is formed. So the hydrogen gets splits out. That is what is shown here. So when the hydrogen gets removed, this further reaction, it forms some compounds like acetone, methane, and acetaldehyde. And dehydration, you know very well, dehydration means removal of water. Here you can see this hydrogen, CH2 hydrogen here, and this oxygen water, this gets removed so that it forms CH double bond CH, so that here the water is removed. These are the non-chain scission type reaction. By this non-chain scission type reaction, compounds like methane is liberated, which is a fuel which will burn readily when it is mixed with oxygen. It will burn readily. So the main products that are formed at the lower temperature of burning are methane, carbon dioxide, formaldehyde, and hydrogen. All these compounds are highly flammable. Usually a large amount of methane is liberated before the start of the scission reaction, before the polymer chain gets completely broken. Before that itself, the methane is liberated more, so that once it reacts with oxygen further, it will undergo burning to produce the scission reaction, where it will promote more burning. Now we will see what are the scission reaction and what are the products that are liberated during the scission reaction. These are the chain scission reaction. You can see how this is broken down during this scission reaction. This is the aliphatic part and this is the aromatic part. You can see the compound shown here. If you just cleave this, if you just make a cleavage here, you can see this is the right side that is shown here. This is the aliphatic part and this is the aromatic part. So this is the aliphatic which is shown here. This aliphatic part undergoes reaction so that it breaks into compounds. This aliphatic segment break down into methane and ethylene and probably propylene also, uh, or acetone, acetaldehyde, and methane, which we have already seen, and probably carbon monoxide and formaldehyde, all of which are flammable. You can see here this is the aliphatic segment. This gets broken down so that here the dehydration take place, where the water gets removed, and then it forms methane, and here you can see CH2 double bond CH2, which is ethylene, and here the CH2 double bond CH single bond CH3, which is propylene. So here the compounds that are broken down to form methane, ethylene, and then propylene, and further it forms some acetaldehyde. You can see here CH3CHO acetaldehyde that is formed here, and then here the acetone is formed, and here the methane is formed, and then carbon monoxide is formed, and then formaldehyde is formed. All these compounds are highly flammable. But if you observe in the aromatic side also, in the aromatic ring, when it gets broken down, it broken down and to form phenol, to liberate the phenol also, which is also flammable. So by both the non scission reaction and chain scission reaction, the highly flammable products are liberated. The flammable volatile are produced only in a relatively small quantities, and this coupled with their cross-linked and related char forming character. So these epoxy resins are less combustible than polyester resins. If you observe the polyester resin when you burn it will immediately the styrene moieties come out, and it becomes the highly volatile styrene comes out and it burns with heavy shooting. But whereas here the epoxy resin is somewhat less combustible than the polyester resin with the higher LOI values in the range of 22 to 23. But whereas for the polyester resin the value of the LOI value is around 20 to 21 only. But however, still the epoxy resin LOI value is still less to confer the required flame retardancy. For obtaining the required flame retardancy, the LOI value should be at least 26 to 28. So to confer the acceptable level of flame retardancy, we require reactive and additive flame retardants to be used. So what are the reactive flame retardants? Compounds based on bromine or the halogenated compounds. You can see tetrachloro, tetrabromo bisphenol A. Normally this bisphenol A is a raw material to manufacture the epoxy resin. I hope you maybe remember what is DGEBA. Diglycidyl ether of bisphenol A is a raw material to manufacture the epoxy resin. Instead of using the only bisphenol A, if you mix it with some tetrachloro, if you introduce some chlorine and bromine along with that during the manufacture, then you may be producing the epoxy resin with the flame retardant property. And since it is a halogen, it works in the gas or vapor phase route, so that by mixing these reactive flame retardants you will get the flame retardant property of the epoxy resin. Otherwise what you can use is you can use the additive flame retardant also, like ammonium polyphosphate. This also, from here also you get from ammonium you get the nitrogen, and from phosphate you get the phosphorus, so that phosphorus and nitrogen synergism reaction take place, so that it gives the flame retardancy. Other chemicals also can be used, like alumina trihydrate can also be used as a filler in the effective flame retardant for epoxy resin. These fillers can also be added during the epoxy resin manufacture, so that these fillers can reduce the weight of the composite, and also it gives the flame retardant property. Now we move on to the next matrix, which is the phenolic resin. From the name itself, phenolic resin means it contains the benzene ring with OH. That will come to your mind. If something is phenol, means it will contain the benzene ring with OH group. So this phenolic resin, how it is manufactured? When the phenol is mixed with formaldehyde, you will get the phenolic resin. You can take the phenol and then mix with the, for example, lower than the required formaldehyde. If you use, you can get a phenolic compound like a Novolac. Novolac resin is an example for a phenolic resin. Or else, for example, if you use a high amount of formaldehyde and then mix it with phenol, in that case you will be producing a compound called as resoles. So resole is one of the most widely used phenolic resin, where the amount of formaldehyde used for the resin manufacture is very high. So because of that, the viscosity of the resin is less actually, so that you can easily use it and mix it with the fiber, so that fiber get easily impregnated, so that you can produce a composite. These phenolic resins are of particular interest in structural applications owing to their inherent flame retardant property. This is a great advantage because this resin has an inherent flame retardant property. So inherently flame retardant means it has a high LOI value of say 25. So 25 is a good LOI value for providing the flame retardant property. But they tend to increase the smoke generation. The smoke will be produced more if you burn. Even though the LOI value is high and its flame retardant property is good, smoke generation is more. Though you can say that it is a LOI value is high of 25 and you may not require further flame retardant property. That also has certain drawbacks apart from the smoke generation. The resin has a low toughness and a curing reaction involves the liberation of water. The water gets liberated when the curing reaction occurs. So what will happen if the water gets liberated? the water, when it gets liberated from the phenolic resin, that water will get trapped inside the composite during the fire, and it will generate the steam. So that once the steam is generated, then it will damage the composite. So mechanical properties of the composite will get affected. Though the LOI value is high and the flame retardant properties can be obtained by this phenolic resin, still the water that is liberated from the composite will get entrapped inside the composite, and that composite will get affected. Its strength will go away because of the entrapped water. You can see this inside the with the help of a reaction. This is the phenolic resin. You can see here two phenolic resins are connected by a methylene bridges, CH2 group here. This is the methylene group, two phenolic resin where the benzene ring with OH, which is a phenolic group. Here another phenolic group. These are connected with methylene bridges. For example, here you can see this is a phenolic resin undergoes reaction. When it is burnt, what happens? It liberates the water. The water gets liberated, so that here you can see this H2O, here it gets removed, and then here you can see H2O is not there, only the oxygen is there. So that what forms ultimately? This phenolic groups undergoes a phenol-phenol condensation reaction, so that the water is removed, and water is finally, these methylene groups are finally converted into, gets oxidized and then converted into carbonyl groups. So what is the problem with the formation of this transformation from methylene to carbonyl groups? Because these carbonyl groups will further decompose and then produce some very high flammable volatiles like carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide, so that it will worsen the situation where it will make the composite highly flammable. So that is the reason the released water then helps in the oxidation of methylene groups. You can see here, this is the methylene groups to carbonyl linkages, which then further decompose, releasing the carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide and other volatile products to yield ultimately char. Though the char formation helps in promoting the flammability, in this phenolic resin, though the char formation is there to provide the flammability, flame retardant property, at the other side it releases water, so that it damages the composite material because of the entrapped water inside the composite. So this phenolic resin, though it is, the LOI value is higher and the inherent flame retardant property is there, still it has to be treated with a flame retardant chemical to achieve some higher flame retardant property, and also to prevent certain problems like water entrapment inside the composite. So how to impart flame retardancy to the phenolic resin? Here also the same additive and reactive flame retardants can be used. Reactive flame retardants like tetrabromo bisphenol A, which you have seen in the previous epoxy resin, also we use the same, where we have used some chlorobromo compound. Here we are using tetrabromo bisphenol A, which is a brominated bisphenol. And then various organic phosphorus compounds, halogenated phenols and aldehydes, parabromobenzaldehyde. If you observe all these chemicals, one thing which you can understand is all these contains halogens. So halogens means chlorine and bromine, and then other chemical like phosphorus, which works in the solid phase or condensed phase. This halogens works in the gas or vapor phase. So all these compounds, whatever that are used as a flame retardant, will either contain this phosphorus or the halogens. So how this phosphorus can be introduced? If you use a compound like phosphorus oxychloride, if you react this phosphorus oxychloride with the phenolic resin, then from that phosphorus oxychloride, the phosphorus and also chlorine will get introduced into the phenolic resin, so that you will get the flame retardant property. You can use other inorganic compounds also. We have already seen in the first lecture that about the inorganic use of inorganic compounds like antimony trioxide. And similarly, you can use some compounds like boric acid, that also can be incorporated. into the phenolic resin. But boric acid normally will not give you a durable flame retardant. It will go away with the number of washes. It gives a very temporary flame retardancy. So next we will move on to the another thermoset resin, which is the malimide and polyimide resin. So from the name itself, you can see malimide and polyimide. This imide is nothing but where the two acyl groups, if it is connected with the nitrogen, where the from the carboxylic acid, if you remove the OH, if the two in the two carboxylic acid group, if you remove the OH group and then if you connect this with the nitrogen, that is the imide. Hope you may be knowing the what is meant by imide. These imide resins are widely used in the advanced composite. Similar to epoxy, this is also used in the advanced composites. They cure at a very high temperature than the epoxy resins. You can see are around 250 to 350 degrees centigrade for several hours. So longer curing time similar to epoxy. And the Tg of the cured resin is 100 degree higher than the epoxy resin. Curing temperature is also high, curing time is also high. And another great advantage is they retain the better mechanical properties at higher temperature. This is a great advantage which was not obtained by using the phenolic resin. Because phenolic resin, when you burn it, though it does not burn easily, but continuously if you burn, the water entrapment problem comes. But here they retain the mechanical properties at high temperature. And here, if you observe this structure, you can see the number of aromatic rings are higher here in this chain. You can see 1, 2, 3. You can see the number of aromatic rings are higher. So the aromatic structure ensures that they are characterized by high char formation on pyrolysis. So here the char formation occurs more on pyrolysis. So because of the high char formation, you know very well char formation means if it is higher, it forms a high carbonaceous material and it will slow the burning process. It forms a blackish type of a color so that it will burn slowly, and once you remove the source of flame, it will not burn more. It will stop actually. It will extinguish. So it actually locks down. It forms a protective layer or an insulating layer around the structure so that the oxygen cannot be diffused inside and the flammable gases cannot be released, so that it suppresses the flammable gases, and also it does not allow the diffusion of oxygen, so that you get a good flame retardant property in this malimide and polyimide resin. So it forms a high char formation, which is a requirement in the flame retardant property. It has a low flammability and the LOI value is very good, or say above 30. And low smoke production, this is another advantage which you could not get in the even in the phenolic resin. In phenolic resin, even the LOI value was less of around say 25, more of around say 25. Still, it produced smoke, which is not a desirable feature in the flame retardant property. So here, this is a great advantageous resin where the LOI value is higher and low smoke production and retention of mechanical properties at high temperatures. These all make this malimide or polyimide resin to be a preferred type of a resin. But disadvantage is it is costly. Because of their high cost, they are only used in composites requiring the highest level of heat and flame resistance. Wherever the highest level of heat and flame resistance is desired, there these kind of resins can be used. So we have discussed a number of thermoset resins like phenolic, polyester, malimide type of resin, epoxy resin, and polyester resin. So now we need to rank them in the ranges which is very effective in terms of flame retardancy. If you observe, the phenolic resin stands first, followed by polyimide, bismalimide, epoxy, and if you find this polyester is very lowest in the flame retardant, providing the flame retardant property. But whereas this phenolic or polyimides, the flame retardant property is highest. However, if you observe in terms of other properties, epoxy is more widely used resin in the composite industry because it has a highest load carrying feature, which you may not get in the phenolic resin or other polyester resin. Even in the polyimide or bismaleimide also, that kind of a load carrying property may not be there. So in that case, if epoxy is treated with some flame retardant chemicals and given flame retardant property, then epoxy resin can be very well used in the composite structures where the flame resistance is required. So this is about the discussion on resins, that is the thermoset resins. We have seen in about each and every thermoset resin and how it becomes how it is flammable and how the flame resistance can be provided. Now we will move on to the next topic, that is the resin matrix interface. So I hope you may be knowing what is meant by interface. Interface is something which connects the resin and the matrix. Some sort of a physical or a chemical bonding take place because of the presence of interface which is connecting the resin and the matrix. So the resin matrix interface region is also very important. Not only the fiber or the matrix, the interface is also very important in obtaining the flame retardant property. If the interface contains some flammable chemical present in it or flammable volatile present in it, then the composite will definitely fail in the flame retardant testing, flame resistant testing. So the nature of the interface will also affect the burning of the material as well. If the binding material is highly flammable, it will increase the fire hazard of the whole structure. For example, if you see the glass fibers, in glass fibers, when you use a GFRP, glass fiber reinforced composite, what compound you are using as a binding agent? You will use a compound called aminosilane. Hope you may be remembering the compound name. Aminosilane is used as a binding agent to connect the glass fiber and the resin. And for example, if you are using a carbon fiber, you will modify the carbon fiber structure so that you will make the structure water absorbing by introducing some hydroxyl groups or some carboxyl groups or some amino groups, so that the resin will get absorbed by the carbon fiber. So the interface should be strong enough to bind both the resin and the matrix. If the interface is weak and the two faces are pushed apart in the case of fire, then the matrix will burn vigorously and inorganic fibers can no longer act as an insulator, because if the matrix burns and the interface is very weak, is not connecting properly, then it will actually undergo delamination, so that the composite will fail in the flame resistance testing. So normally for any kind of a layered textile, like a multi-layered textile also, if the interface is weak, that will actually lead to the delamination problem, where the composite will fail because of the burning of the matrix material. And though the fiber itself is inherently flame retardant, that is not going to help finally if the matrix or the interface is flammable. So the use of interlinked reinforcing layer, the use of 3D or stitched woven structures can be used, that will yield the improved fire behavior of the resulting composite. The interface, whatever you are using, that also should be treated with some flame retardant chemicals if the end use is of fire resistance. So that is the one way you can treat it with any chemical, so that the interface also should be flame retardant finished. The use of interlinked reinforcing layer, some sort of a interlinked reinforcing layer also can be used, like a 3D or a stitched woven structures can be used. This is one of the recommendation where how to protect the interface from burning, how to prevent it from burning. But this is actually in the research type of a study that is going on, but still it has not come to the practical type of a situation. But ultimately you have to protect the interface from burning. You can the recommendation is, normal recommendation is, you have to, the chemical that you are using in the interface should be non-flammable. Next is the third one, that is the use of external coatings and outer protective surfaces. So far we have been discussing about matrix material. Before that we discussed about inherently flame retardant fibers. Then We have seen the resin and the matrix interface. We have seen how the if the interface is weak, how it affects and how it makes the laminate fail by undergoing delamination. Then third method on how to confer the flame resistance is use of external coatings and outer protective surfaces. Another way of flame retarding or fire hardening composite structure is to use flame retardant, that is usually intumescent based paintings or coatings. Hope you may be remembering what is meant by intumescent. Intumescent are the chemical system which by the action of heat evolve gases and form a foamed char. If you use a intumescent coating over a wall or through a door in the home, in the any kind of a door, if you make it as a coating, so that what will happen when you once you burn it, the material will actually first it will swell and then it will create a formed charry layer around it, so that further if you burn it, it will only keep charring continuously, so that it will not allow the burning to happen. So this char acts as an insulative or protective barrier to the underlying structural material against the flame and heat. So if the door contains a painting where that paint is mixed with the intumescent, this door, that is the core material, will not get affected because of the presence of the outer surface coating, which is the intumescent. This creates the swelling and also it forms some gases, so that it forms a foamed char around the surface. Home, you may be remembering about the intumescent example. Three chemicals you take and then suspend it in a binder, like for example APP, PER, MEL, that is the ammonium polyphosphate pentaerythritol, and then you will mix one more chemical also, that is the melamine, and these three you will take and then suspend it in a vinyl acetate binder, so that you can that is the intumescent. Normally, the effective intumescent coating is the fluorocarbon latex paint, which is used in the household paintings and in doors also. These kind of fluorocarbon latex paints are used wherever the uh, flame retardancy is required is high. Same intumescent you can also used in the composites also to protect it from attack from the flames. Now we will see with an example of a research study. See, this is a research study by some scientists who have done some research by using this intumescent coatings over the composites. They have taken some four different composites they have used. One combination is fiber reinforcement is glass, and another is the matrix is the vinyl ester. This is one combination. Another combination is graphite and epoxy, and another combination is graphite and bismaleimide, and another combination is graphite and phenolic. So four different composites they have produced, which are actually the heat, which are the heat or the thermal barriers. Wherever the heat is to be exposed, there these kind of combinations of composites are produced, and then it is subjected to flame. So when they experimented this, what test did they do? They did a test called uh, use a instrument called cone calorimeter. That is one of the instrument where which records the heat flux. Heat flux means you know very well amount of heat that you have applied over the surface per unit area per unit time. So this heat flux is normally expressed in heat release rate, PHRR, which is the peak heat release rate, and that is given, that is the unit is kilowatt per meter square. So when they use these four different types of combinations and did this experiment to find how the intumescent, whether it is effective or not, they found that the intumescent coating was found to be very effective in the composite manufacture during the composite manufacture by giving the very effective flame retardant property. You can see here this graph, the first line which is shown in the, I'm sorry, you can see here the horizontal bars that are shown here. This is the control sample. Control means which does not contain any coating, which is like an untreated sample. You can see the peak heat release rate values are very high for these control samples. You can see for all the 4 different composites, this peak heat release rate for the control sample is very high. But whereas when it is coated with ceramic, the peak heat release rate value dropped. You can see here how it got reduced. So for obtaining the flame retardancy, the peak heat release rate value should reduce. So after they treated it with the ceramic coating, then they could obtain the flame retardant property. But here our interest is on basically the intumescent. But after you see they coated with the intumescent, you can see how much reduction in the peak heat release rate. The peak heat release rate declined drastically here. You can see here, especially in the graphite or phenolic resin. If you use there, you can see how much reduction in the peak heat release rate has happened. And for all others also, the peak heat release rate drastically reduced when you compare it with the control sample or ceramic coating sample. When you do a hybrid coating, if you use both ceramic and intumescent, ceramic as the fiber, ceramic fiber if you take and then mix this with the intumescent and then make a hybrid coating over it. So in that case, what happened? The value is still more reduced. You can see how much reduction it undergoes. Even rather than using a intumescent coating alone, ceramic intumescent hybrid coating still reduce the peak heat release rate values. So that based on this experiment, they found that intumescent based coatings are also very effective in conferring the flame resistance. So this is one of the research study where they carried out this peak heat release rate at a very high cone irradiance, that is the heat flux of 75 kilowatt per meter square. In a real life accident that is taking place where the heat flux is very high, like a place where like a large room or a cinema theater where all the flammable furnitures are present and some fire accident is taking place and it will burn. That kind of a simulation, they have tested these composites and found that intumescent coating was found to be very effective. And when the intumescent is further coupled with ceramic to make a hybrid coating, then it becomes still more effective. So this is the conclusion that they have arrived at, and this use of intumescence is in progress in the flame retardant finishing of textile material and also for the composite structures. Now we have come to the conclusion. This fire resistance or flame resistance is extremely important in the composite manufacturing, because it helps a lot to prevent the accidents in the construction sector, and also during the military in the military circle also. Apart from the ballistic and mechanical protection, this flame resistance or fire resistance is also extremely important, and many legislative bodies have imposed some stringent regulations to protect the people and also the environment from attack from the flame. So what we have learned here, the choice of the resin and the fiber are crucial in determining the flammability property of the whole structure. So whenever you choose some resin or the fiber, the combination should be very crucial. You should choose a inherently flame retardant fiber, and you should choose a resin that should either be inherently flame retardant or it should be treated with a flame retardant to make it non-flammable or make it flame retardant, so that if you combine both along with the interface, that should impart the flame retardant property. So the choice of resin and fiber are very important, because resin make up a significant fraction. Though the amount of say resin used normally in a composite is around say 30% or 40%, and majority is mainly the fiber, still the matrix will have the opportunity to burn, and then it will transfer the flame to the underlying fiber material. So the core will get also burned if the matrix is flammable. So matrix, since it is organic in character, they are the prime sources of fuel when the composites are heated. So the while manufacturing the composites, you have to use the matrix that should be flame retardant treated, chemical treated, and especially when the end use is the fire resistance, where the fire resistance is a requirement, there you have to use this kind of a matrix where which is the flame resistant. So if for chemicals which are compatible with both the fibers and resin and matrix are selected, the resulting effects can be synergistic and both towards the improved fire performance, but also positively or negatively towards smoke suppression. So once if you choose the proper resin and the fiber on the interface properly, so that you can be producing a composite, the when any kind of a fire accident take place, that composite will not easily get burned away to create any kind of accident, so that the chemicals whatever you have added, the fiber and resin both will synergistically work to provide the improved fire performance, and also it promotes the smoke suppression. This is very important because majority of the accidents and deaths take place because of the elimination of liberation of more smoke, when that is emitted to the environment. Because of the inhalation of more smoke, the people die because of the smoke. So the smoke suppression also is favored when you choose the proper fibers and resin. So this resin and fiber chemistry is very important to understand, and still many researches are also going on in this composite field, where some new chemicals and new organic type of flame retardants and other developments are also taking place in the nanotechnology also, to promote the flame retardant property. So now we have come to the end of the lecture. I hope you have understood about the flammability and the fire resistance of composites. So I am stopping here. Thanks for listening. Have a nice day.